Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio, and today we're going to make a quilling flower using our comb. This was inspired by a video from Quilling by Ends, and that's E-N-S, and I will put that link below. We're going to start off with our middle color of this petal. This is a 3-component petal, and well, 3 components on the inside, and then you wrap it. So I guess technically there's 4. We're going to make our little loop here that will glue, and it will loop around one of the teeth in our comb. This is just the way I like to do it. There are different methods for this. You can glue it on the comb or while it's on the comb. I find that more difficult. And I think I got too much glue in there. I'm going to try to get some of that out of there. This is what works best for me. You do it however you want. And actually, that's what works best for me when I'm using this technique or the husking board. It may not be what works best for me on a bigger comb or, you know, a different method, but it works really good for me this way. So we've got our little loop. Maybe I should zoom in just a little, and we're going to start somewhere in the middle of this half of the comb, because they're different widths. This end's wider, farther apart, and these are closer together. So I just kind of find a spot in the middle, and what we're going to do is we're going to loop it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on either side of this first tooth, or you know, whatever you want to call it. So we're just going to go around each side, and I'm not going to glue these. You could, I suppose, but it might affect the way, in fact, I'm pretty sure it would probably affect the way everything kind of comes off the comb, the look. I'm sorry, I'm not making a lot of sense today, even to myself, and I should have been counting instead of talking. So we're just going every other one, and we're just looping around. And what do I have here? I've got 1, 2, 3 on each side, and I said we need 6. So this will be 4, 4, 5, 5. Oops, keep getting it in the wrong one. 6 and 6. Now I should have started off by saying that I am using one 10.5-inch strip for this center component, and I'm just going to rip some of this off. Alright, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but it blinked out on me again, but I don't think you've missed anything. So I started with a 10.5-inch strip, and we wrapped it 6 times around the center loop, if you will, or center hole, or center tooth, let's say that. And I used all but just a very little bit of the strip, maybe an inch. So we're going to take that off, set it there, while we're going to take, now we need one 10.5-inch strip and half of another 10.5-inch strip, and we're going to glue those together. And then we're going to make another little loop here on one end. Looks like my glue bottle's already, there we go, already starting to dry up, or the tip anyway. So we'll hold that for a second. Put my pen back in, even though we're going to have to glue these every time we go around. Just kind of clear it out there a little bit. Okay. So we're going to work off the same end of the comb, the narrower spacing, and I again just kind of start in the middle. Oops. And this time, now that I've got my little loop on there, I'm going to skip the tooth to either the left or the right and come up and then go right back down. So I don't know really if this has got a special name or anything. I call it the over-under loops, but I'm going to glue that down a little bit better. But that's just what I call them. There may be a technical name that I'm not aware of. And so we're going to do 7 loops from left and right of center. So we've got 1 on each side. So now we want to come up right next to this strip here, and then we're going to go right back down over that tooth. Then we're going to wrap it around the bottom, and we're going to add a little bit of glue. And we're going to come right up in that same slot where the other strip is, and then we're going to come back up around that tooth. I got glue all over my comb, which I should just not worry about. So then we're going to glue the back of our strip down again. And then we want to take our strip right down that same slot where the strip went before, and then back up around that tooth. Whoops, except I did that wrong. I missed, got too close to the, or into the same slot that I was trying to, that I started in. There we go. Apparently I'm tired today, I'm sorry. Alright, so we're just going to keep repeating this until we've done it 7 times left and right of center, or 7 loops left and right of center. I usually hold it closer to me so it's easier for me to see, but I'm trying to keep it here under the camera so that you can see what I'm doing. So we're just going to go down right next to our previous loop and then back up around that tooth. And that must be where I glued it together. So you want to just kind of give it a gentle tug. And you will need to do 2 of these. I've already done 1. And we're going to finish this one up. Now if you're using a different comb or strips that are different length, your measurements will vary. That's okay. You can always add some if you don't have enough. Add more strip by gluing it together, or you just rip off the excess. And if it's long enough, save it for another project. So we're getting close now. The further out we get, the closer we are to being done here. Oops. Let me just count to make sure. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I like to glue it in the center. You can glue it wherever you want. That's all we're removing, which is 2 inches. And once that's pretty stuck, you just slide that off of there. And that gives you that piece. So we're going to take the one I did before and the 2 I just made, and we're going to glue that all together. So the coral color is going to go in the center, or pink. I don't know if it's, I'm not sure what color it is, to be honest. I mean, I have used it before, but I just can't remember the name of it. All right, so I kind of want to center that darker pink piece in the middle of your other strip here, or your other component. And then we're going to add some more glue to the other side and attach that, and I will do a little bit on the tips. And it looks like I got one of them longer than the other. I'm not really sure how I did that. But that's okay. It actually looks like it's going to work. So I'm going to let that dry. So now we're going to take another, let's see, 10.5 inch strip of this darker pink, and we're going to use our crimper here, and this time I'm using this top one in the middle. And you just feed it through, and it comes right out the other side. So now we're going to take and we're going to wrap this, and I figured out this goes around, I believe it goes around, I think it's 3 times. I'm just kind of hitting the tips of those loops with some glue. And then you're just going to wrap it. Of course, my glue didn't really hold. There we go. So that's 2. So yeah, you get just almost 3. Close enough. And we're going to glue that end down. Give a little pinch, just a little pinch, so that we can kind of slip those all in together. Now there are 7 petals on this flower. There are 3 components plus a wrap to each petal, so it's quite a lot of work, but it sure is pretty. So she made a base coil for hers. I've not had a lot of luck with that, but I'm going to try it again today. We'll see. So I'm going to pause this. We'll just fast forward through that. Alright, I've made my center base. I've glued it. I think it's pretty dry. I made my top center coil with white, 2 strands of that. I did an orange 10.5 inch and then a brown roughly 10.5 inch, and that's going to be the top of my flower. And right now I'm going to try to attach these the way she does by adding some glue. That probably sticks out more than it needs to. See if I can just soften that a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add some glue and I'm going to start working these flowers in. Now the other thing I could do is I could glue them together and just lay them on my dome shape upside down and see if I can get a little bit of an indentation that way. And I have done that and that works, but I wanted to try this with the base disc just because I think it gives a little bit more stability to the finished flower. But it takes my glue so long to dry. Yeah, see. Let's put a couple of them in here. I don't want it sticking straight up. Okay, well, you know what? I'm just not going to use that. I'll use it for something else. I'm going to go back to the way that I know works for me. So let's pull this way. And we're just going to start gluing them together down here toward the point. And I think if I'm careful, I can do a couple at a time. Just going to kind of lay it down there. Then I'll lay them together. Oops. I didn't really glue when I wrapped these what do you call that, crimped borders. Maybe I should have, because they do tend to want to slide a little bit. But I think that'll work out pretty nicely. Okay, so I'm going to glue this to this two-piece. I'm going to try anyway. Kind of like that. Just kind of hold everything together. And then I think I'll add this one to those two. Just making sure it's not glued to my piece of paper on the bottom. Alright, so now I'm going to glue here. This has had a little chance to set up. Put this on both sides. And we're just going to kind of push it all together. And just give it a little bit of pressure. So I'm going to find my pen here, put it back in, and we're going to pick this flower up and lay it over our biggest hole there. And I think it's fairly centered. Let me see. Let me pull it over this way some. Definitely not. That's better. Could still come this way a smidge. So I'm just going to set my glue bottle on there until that comes to hopefully a nice dried position. And I've been using this a lot, but I think I'm going to use it again. You know what? Maybe I'll get another color. Think. No, I'll just use this. It's right here. My Wink of Stella pen again, because I've been using it a lot lately. I like the little bit of sparkle that it adds to the center of the flower. So I'm just gonna do it on the white part. I'm not going to cover the orange and the brown. At least I'm going to try not to. And since the white part's domed a little bit, it's not too bad just trying to just hit that, nothing else. So we'll let that dry while our flower is drying. And once our flower is dry, we will attach this to the center. Okay, I don't know if it's because the flower's so big and the parts I wrapped it with, the crimped parts, are not really snug enough, but it's not really holding its shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do this a little differently than she did. I'm going to go ahead and use this base. I'm going to add some more glue. Got a bunch of dried glue on my finger, and then we're just going to press the flower into it and hold it that way. Okay, hopefully that's enough glue. So we're going to try and get that centered, which I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to push it down in there and hold it till it dries. Alright, I think it's dry enough. It's not falling apart, so we're going to add some glue to the base of our center here. Upper center, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of give in this one. I didn't get it wrapped quite as tightly probably as I should have. So we're going to plop that down somewhere in the middle here and just give it a little bit of pressure around the outside edges. Yeah, all right. I think that turned out pretty well. And again, this was one by ENS, E-N-S. I may not be saying that right, and if I'm not, I apologize. It's very similar to some that we've already done, but you can see you can, add different elements or switch them up to make everything look a little bit different. You could reshape these somewhat if you wanted to on the tips. It's totally up to you. But I like this. It's bigger than the ones that I typically make, which is kind of nice. So I'm pretty happy with it. And again, you could do a lot of different things. You could put fringe in the center if you want, gemstones, whatever floats your fancy. So until next time, this is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio, and I'm wishing y'all a very happy crafty day.